FromSoftware are notorious for their challenging action RPGs, beloved for their lore, mechanical friction, and what they ask out of the player. So if you want to dedicate yourself to getting good, you're going to want to pick a game that is a certified great. Here are the 8 highest rated FromSoftware games on Steam, ranked. The first mech-forward game we'll talk about today, Metal Wolf Chaos, is a cult classic first dropping in 2004, which went on to receive a modern port in 2019. This third-person shooter sees players taking control of United States President Michael Wilson, battling the backstabbing VP, Richard Hawke, with hundreds of weapons and, of course, one of 8 mecha. Its over-the-top tone is matched by missions full of a variety of US military-themed baddies and environmental carnage. The black sheep of the Dark Souls series, Dark Souls 2 has recently started to gain a fair amount of defenders who view it as FromSoftware's misunderstood masterpiece. The Scholar of the First Sin edition specifically brought with it every DLC included in the already massive single-player quest and quality of life updates like 60 frames per second. If you can deal with more complex mechanics like upgrading your dodge roll iframes, you're in for one of the most interesting titles in the Souls-like genre. You also have to appreciate original release purists though, as vanilla Dark Souls 2 is the 6th highest rated FromSoft title on Steam, sitting at a slightly higher 88%. The latest game from FromSoftware, Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon, sees From picking up the reins of one of their pre-Souls legacy franchises. Rather than Black Knights and Demons, Armored Core sees players customizing and piloting giant mechs across a variety of scenarios. Being the 6th entry in the franchise, From made some changes to the formula, including removing the punishing debt system, which previously made players lose resources upon failing missions, now encouraging players to experiment with their builds and try again. The game that started it all, Dark Souls Remastered, dropped in 2018, resolving a slightly botched initial PC release back in the day. Although this release came with a delisting of the original title, much to the ire of PC players, there is no denying the simple fact that Dark Souls is one of the most influential games of the last few decades. Including the excellent Artorias of the Abyss DLC, the already impressive atmospheric world of Lordran is more complete and compelling here than it ever has been. Call it the Breath of the Wild of Dark Souls if you want, but FromSoftware's take on the open world genre enthralled millions and became the company's first true mainstream mega hit. PC issues at launch keep the game in third, despite many considering it to be the culmination of FromSoftware's entire catalog, from bosses to story, difficulty, and player progression. The grand finale to the Dark Souls trilogy, Dark Souls 3 released in a post-Bloodborne world and took all the right lessons from what that game did well. By cranking up the speed from the last 2 in the trilogy, FromSoft delivered a Souls combat system that many consider to be the best in the series. The Souls series ended on a high note, and if you can only experience one, it's clear that this is the franchise at its best. If there was one game that really forces you to get good in the FromSoftware lineup, it's Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. Foregoing a more traditional RPG progression, your skill set in Sekiro entirely depends on your ability to master a single weapon and exploit your opponent's stamina rather than their health. For some, the inability to become overleveled and cheese bosses was a downside, but in honing a single weapon, FromSoftware was able to craft a journey with a level of precision that their other games with more choice in playstyle lack. There you have it, the most highly rated FromSoftware games on Steam, ranked. Were you surprised that Elden Ring didn't come out on top, or are you like me and see Sekiro in its rightful place as the best of the best? Be sure to stay tuned to Game Rant for more from the world of games.